We've heard lots of speeches about Obamacare. We've had lots of votes about Obamacare, none of which had any chance of passage.
I think the top priority of every elected official, Republican or Democrat, should be restoring economic growth. And nothing is hurting economic growth more than Obamacare. Look, there is bipartisan consensus. This bill isn't working. The lead Senate author of Obamacare, Democrat Max Baucus, described it as a, quote, huge train wreck.
Now is the single best time and best opportunity to defeat Obamacare.
This legislation is failing, and it's hurting the American people. If you look at jobs, there is no legislation currently in effect that is damaging the economy more or damaging jobs more than Obamacare. President Obama, in moving the employer mandate for big corporations till after the next election, number one, it's a heck of an admission that this law isn't working, because if it were good, he'd want it to kick in before the next election. But number two, there's nothing in the law that gives him the power to do that. This is right now, on the continuing resolution, our best opportunity, and it may well be our last opportunity to defund it. With the continuing resolution, we have a leverage point, I believe, if Republicans stand together to actually win this fight.
Number two, this is a fight we can win.
This will be the hardest fight we have this year, which is unsurprising because it's the most important fight we have this year. If we can get 41 Republicans in the Senate to stand together, or 218 Republicans in the House to stand together, we can successfully defund Obamacare on September 30th. I think the first step should be the House of Representatives should pass a continuing resolution that funds the entirety of the federal government except for Obamacare, and that explicitly prohibits spending money on Obamacare. The next step is that would go over to the Senate, and we know how this game plays out. We've seen it before. Harry Reid and President Obama would scream and yell, those mean, nasty Republicans are threatening to shut down the government. And at that point, we've got to stand up and fight and win the argument. We've got to make the case and say, no, we have voted to fund the federal government. We want to fund the federal government. Why is President Obama willing to grant a waiver for giant corporations, but not for hardworking American families? Why is Barack Obama threatening to shut down the federal government? Because he wants to force Obamacare down the American people's throats.
And number three, only the American people can win this fight.
When the grassroots get engaged, when we demand of our elected officials they do the right thing, where we make it more risky to do the wrong thing than it is to do the right thing, that's how we've won fights in the past, whether it's on drones or guns, and that's how we're going to win this fight on defunding Obamacare. The only way this will happen is if hundreds of thousands or millions of Americans tell their elected officials, tell Republicans, stand for principle. This isn't working. It's destroying the economy. It's hurting jobs. It's destroying health care. It's driving up our premiums. Defund it.
If the American people rise up and hold our elected officials accountable, and the people should hold every one of us accountable, including me, that's how we win this fight.